Hello, everyone, and welcome along to your Tuesday night edition of the tr.ee podcast. We're 4 weeks in, and I'm still not quite used to saying that one, as it says Tuesday night, and the Thursday night is a new setup for us here. But welcome along, everyone. I'm joined by Iain Mitchell tonight to talk about the latest Rangers news, a couple of transfer rumours that seem pretty far down the line. Oliver Antman. I mean, you take your pick with that one, and then Mikey Moore as well, that we'll come to talk about, and all that before we'll start to go ahead to tomorrow night's big game against Panathinaikos away in Athens. As I said, joined tonight by Iain Mitchell. Iain, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yes, looking forward to tomorrow. I think now we've got a bit of an understanding of what this team looks like. We're kind of feeling out how they're going to start playing together. It's promising. Obviously, a few negatives for last week we'll try and avoid, but yeah, looking forward to tomorrow and a good place, I think, for once.
That's interesting you say you feel like you've got a bit of a feeling, because I still feel completely not unsure and completely.
I know what they're trying to do, I think. Yeah, it's bare minimum at this point.
Completely in the dark as to how we're going to play. There was also a lot of inconsistency last week, and it was you could kind of hope that consistency comes with the more time that they play together, and even in training and then in games. But you're still never sure what's going to turn up, and I know we're going to go into the preview towards the end, but we gave up a lot of chances as well, playing the way that we did, and we got a bit lucky at times. So that's, I think, got me on edge a wee bit as we go towards tomorrow. But I'm very glad we got that second goal last week, and what a goal it was from Gassama in that. But let's start by talking about the transfer rumours that have been going around on social media and through the media as well over the last couple of days. Oliver Antman from Go Ahead Eagles, wide player, Finnish international, valued at £5 million, Iain, which seems to be becoming our average target fee for players, which is pretty interesting. 32 appearances last season, 6 goals and 15 assists. The right way around for wingers, I think, that one. As I said, wide midfielder. I think he plays wide right, if I'm correct. And rumours at the moment are that terms have been agreed with the player. We just need to make agree a fee with Go Ahead Eagles, the club. What do you make of that rumour, Iain? Is it one that excites you?
I think I like it. Not gonna lie, when I first heard it, hadn't heard of the guy. Again, you sort of slightly recognise the name, maybe from Football Manager or something, but couldn't tell anything about him. So do the kind of YouTube clips, you do the digging. He fits a lot of what we want. He's a good age. He's had a really good season. It's always nice to be buying a player on the up. I think we had a few too many seasons of buying a guy to try and revive a career or kind of get him going again. This is more the opposite. This is a young player who's had a strong season there, and his value's sort of higher than it's ever been. So try to strike before it gets too high for us. The interesting thing for me was the fact that he was heavily linked, as in close to signing for Sheffield United over the last few days. He saw.
Yes,
I didn't know if that's just a bit of agent chat. I know you guys touched on that on Sunday night, so I'm not going to repeat it. But as you say, is that just the agent kind of putting the Rangers name out there to speed up someone else? I didn't know, but suddenly went from that to we've agreed a fee, and it's calmed down again. He's training with his team, so just the usual back and forth. It's always the same, but player-wise, it's probably the main position. We need someone new at this point. We can't have Kieran Dowell starting games at right wing. We don't really have another option there in terms of a natural right winger. So we need someone in there. I know we're going to come on to a bit more, but I don't know if this is the Raksaki deal breaking down and this is like target B, maybe just moving on as we're going to need to do at some point. So seems a good player. It seems to fit that Ross Martin type of get a guy at the byline, cut the ball back. The thing for me is he's very much a like hug the width right winger. He's not one of these guys who's going to cut infield. He's obviously right-footed, so he's going to try and stay on his right foot more often than not. It's a bit different to how you see a modern-day winger these days. It's not quite a Czerny who's going to be cutting in on his stronger foot. So interested to see how that works. It's not something we've had for a while now. I think going back to like Candace before we had an actual right-footed right winger. So could work very well. Profile strong. He's a guy that you probably expect to come in and you hopefully you flip him for even more profit down the line as well. So yeah, a lot to like about that one. Not many negatives, which is pretty positive. Obviously, it's a nice start. It's a good rumour, isn't it?
Yeah, it very much is. A few different comments picking up on points there. Scott Hammond saying 5 million isn't over the top and leaves a realistic chance to cash in for more money if successful. James Murphy just says superb signing. AGA says another taller player as well. I think he's 6'1", roughly. I think is what I read.
That's the profile. Yep.
Pretty tall for a winger, isn't it? And then Andrew Gill is as well saying it's not just his assists, it's his chance creation that is elite level. And I think that's where we've really struggled in recent seasons, Iain, is actually creating the chances for the strikers. Albeit last season, Cyril Dessers did a good job at missing quite a few of the ones that were created. But recent seasons, it's felt like strikers, instead of having the normal 10 to 15 chances that would be created for Rangers in a game, they've been down to 5 or 6 where they've got to try and score the goals from, and that's felt like a huge drop-off for us. Is that something you're excited about in terms of that sort of relentless attack? It seems to be that we're looking to build, and I mean, we saw it even in the last 30 minutes against the 10 men of Panathinaikos last week, in terms of we just kept going with pace as well, pace and movement. Yeah,
it's how you win a league for me. You're not going to win a league with the defence we have right now. If we're going to be honest, we were obviously going to get a bit stronger there, we hope, but that defence, that goalkeeper might concede the odd goal every game, but if you're scoring 3 or 4, doesn't quite matter. That's always been the problem these last few seasons, for a goal ahead, or we're drawing a game, or it's narrow. If you can't blow teams away, so then you've got the different problems. If you can't bring subs on, you can't keep things fresh. There's so many problems that if you bring in a potent front line, they get you goals and you're 3-0 up after an hour. You have so many more benefits, and a little defensive lapse isn't such a big deal. So massively important. It's been the key for me, and it was why I was pretty keen on Russell Martin coming in. Just the fact that he will bring that attacking threat, and a lot of people say there's like the passing for passing's sake, there's possession here, but that last 30 minutes after the red card the other night was really key for me, because that's how we're going to play most weeks. It's going to be against like 10 at the back. It's going to be against a defence that doesn't want to move about, doesn't want to come out. If you can show that you can try and pry them out with those passes, and then you're giving the ball to a Gassama, an Antman, Baksaki, if we somehow got that over the line, these guys have quality and they will score and create goals. It's very simple. It's why I'm not too stressed if Dessers did stay, and don't get me wrong, I don't think his head's really in the right place just now, judging from his last few games. I don't think he's quite himself, which is maybe normal considering he's a guy who's probably on his way out.
Yeah, do you think he's one of the players Russell Martin spoke about in terms of his post-match press conference, and saying some of the players where they had that sort of hangover from not being picked for the Panathinaikos game, they were disappointed, the warm-up wasn't great. Do you think it's pure speculation, but just going by how little involvement he had in that sort of first 45 minutes against Middlesbrough, his movement wasn't quite what it has been. His movement wasn't quite what it has been beforehand. Just felt like he wasn't really into the game or in the mindset of the game, albeit that first 25 minutes against Middlesbrough was horrendous. So I'm not sure any striker would have been able to get in the game, but I just felt like he wasn't quite at the races.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a damning thing that there's a few players that Russell Martin could have been talking about. It's not as if Dessers was the only poor performance on the day, obviously, but I know he's a little bit behind people fitness-wise. He came back a bit later because of those transfer rumours, because of the extended holiday and stuff, so he is slightly playing catch-up, but I'd still expect a bit more. You'd imagine he wants to start midweek. He wants to be at the forefront of things while he's here. That performance for me, and just what we've seen so far, albeit in sort of dribs and drabs, it's not been the Dessers of old. Like, yes, he always misses chances. He always gives the ball away. He has moments, but he is always smiling. He is always very bubbly. He's wanting the ball again. He's still doing the movement. He's still getting into positions, just not really seeing it. And as I was touching on there, if you've got wingers and attacking midfielders who are going to create chances, the fact is Dessers will score goals in this team. He'll miss a lot, of course he will. That's what he does, but he will score goals. So if you're bringing in Antman and, like I say, Gassama, plus the attacking threat we now seem to carry, he could do very well in this team. Albeit, I will agree with Kieran from the other night. I would still be getting rid of him to bring somebody else in, but it's not the priority for me right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Wingers seems to very much be where the focus is at this moment in time. We seem to be going bit by bit through different points of the team, and then we get one and then we move on to another stage of the team. But how important is two consistently delivering wingers, two consistently threatening wingers into Russell Martin's system, do you think, from what you've seen so far? It seems to be that, I've spoken about it in a few other pods as well, around the fact that Rangers have always had one sort of focal point out wide, and teams would always be able to funnel their defensive strategy towards protecting against that one threat. How important is having down both sides and the sort of space and the opportunities that opens up?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that spring to mind immediately. I mean, Ryan Kent was brilliant for us until teams clocked that just put two guys on him. Then what's he going to do? And there's a reason his numbers stopped, his assists stopped, his general ability seemed to stop at times because he just couldn't get going because teams found him out. If we had a Ryan Kent equivalent on the other side all those years ago, that problem wouldn't have happened. Maybe not. Maybe it would have happened eventually, but not so quick. Whereas you look at last week as well, we were very much putting everything down the left-hand side towards Curtis. And it was probably a bit too much for him on the night. He was playing within himself a little bit in the first half especially. But when we had nothing down the right, I can see why we're doing it. I can see why it was targeted. But teams at this level especially clock onto that very fast. Like, it would have took maybe 10, 15 minutes the other night before the Panathinaikos manager would have thought, okay, well, I can see what they're doing. I'm just going to play into that and double up here and leave Dowell. And it's not a slight on Dowell, as every podcast seems to be. It's not his fault he's playing. It's not his fault. He is probably one of the best options at right wing just now, but it just takes away so much attacking threat when the opposition know what you're going to do. So imagine just being that opposition manager, that opposition defence, and you've got two guys in the wing who you're like scared of, kind of thing, or can get goals and assists. And again, never like bringing up Celtic on these podcasts, but that's kind of how they've been winning leagues in a lot of ways. They've got numbers up front. If we can get those numbers up front, we'll suddenly have a lot more games we're winning a lot more comfortably, which sounds so basic, but it's what we need.
Does. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned him earlier on, but Rak-Sakyi was obviously linked pretty heavily around this time last week. I think it was rumoured to be a loan with a bid of £10 million. I don't think it was an optional one. I think it was a mandatory £10 million fee next summer. That was obviously rejected by Crystal Palace, but you have to look at that size of fee, and if you're playing in the same position as Oliver Antman, then you're looking at £5 million for Oliver Antman, or a loan plus £10 million for Rak-Sakyi. Which one would you rather? It's putting on your spot a wee bit there, but which one would you rather? It seems to me that Oliver Antman would make more business sense, but you're never quite, if you're paying £10 million for a player, you never quite know where their ceiling is.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I think from an individual perspective, Rak-Sakyi is a bit more exciting, just a bit more unknown, a bit more maybe what I thought we would get in terms of like that winger cutting in and that guy who's got a trick in him. And again, profile's perfect, but I think if Rak-Sakyi isn't English, it's not £10 million. It's one of those that Premier League clubs can kind of charge what they want. There's that classic English tax on there. I don't think he's had the career just yet that warrants that kind of fee. And he's very well thought of, obviously, but a good season in League One and then a decent season last year in the Championship. He wasn't a guaranteed start at Sheffield United. It wasn't. They get loads of goals, get 2 assists in 30 odd games. So that's a team at the top of the league. Its numbers aren't exactly brilliant. Whereas Antman, yes, it's been one strong season, but it's been a very strong season. It's almost half the price. If you're looking at how much we've got as a budget this year, I don't think it's quite as much as we need to be buying 2 players, like 5 million, 10 million for the one position. And they're both very much right wingers. It's not a case of, you can move Antman here, you can move Rak-Sakyi. They are right wingers each, and you can only play one right winger kind of thing. So if it was up to me, I would look at Antman for 5 million, whatever it is, and then use that other 5 million for a left back, a centre back, Czerny, if he's available, kind of thing. And then suddenly you've got options there. But regardless, we do need 2 right wingers to come in, because right now for me there is 0 that's suitable. So if you get an injury to one, you need that backup there that can give that competition.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about a second left winger in a second, but there are quite a few comments were coming in as we're talking about the strikers and the sort of lack of chance creation for them last season, and saying it's actually the other end of the park, the defence, that's what wins you titles. It's not the top end of the park. I think it's both, to be honest. I think it's very much both, and I am very much clinging on to hope that Connor Cody will make his way through the doors at Ibrox at some point over the next week or two, because I think we desperately need someone of his level of experience, I think, to come in and just shore up shore up that defence. But Iain, Mikey Moore from Tottenham was the latest rumour last night. I've lost track of days. I think it was last night. That one came out. 17 years old. Was played in the Premier League. Made his first Premier League start last season. Made his first European start last season. Won the Europa League with Spurs. I think it's one that seems to be really close to completion. Going by the reports, it seems pretty much done and dusted. Michael Bridge from Sky Sports was the one that tweeted it last night, and he's very close to the Spurs camp, and he's very close to a lot of people within Spurs. So you have to assume it's down to dotting the I's and crossing the T's on that one. But reports seem to suggest a loan move is close to completion. Market value of £16 million for him at 17 years old, which I guess suggests one of the most promising players. He is one of the most highly rated young talents in England and Europe. We did remember there's all those rumours about Cole Palmer a couple of years ago coming on loan to us, and people were up in arms. I wonder where he is these days. But it does seem that Mikey Moore probably broke through last season, and he is, I believe, he prefers on the left side of the park, which would make sense, because then we've paid the money for Gassama, and then you've got the support of a young promising winger out in the left. What are your thoughts on that, first of all?
I like it a lot. Again, sort of one you've heard his name a few times. I watched a bit of Spurs last year in Europa, and he did feature quite a lot. He is a boy with a lot of promise. I get people's thinking. The kind of negative here is that, does that take away time from Finlay Curtis? Does that then push him down the peg? If it does, it does. We all want to develop players. We all want our own homegrown guys to come in and do well. And Curtis has started brilliantly, but that first hour the other night, he didn't quite, arrive, kind of thing. He wasn't involved. He was very passive.
He's going to be inconsistent as a young player that's just starting to make his way in the first team. Is going to be inconsistent. Whereas we're talking about another young player here in Mikey Moore, but a young player that has been there and done it last season at the top level of the game in the Premier League and the Europa League, consistently performing for Tottenham, and they're looking to send him out and loan to gain that consistent first team experience. So it feels like people are trying to compare apples and oranges a wee bit with the two players. Is that how you feel?
A little bit. And again, if Curtis is good enough, he will still get game time. It's not as if this just means Curtis is put back in the B team. We don't have a B team anymore, so that's irrelevant. But I would rather Curtis went away and had a full season somewhere. Same with Bailey Rice, same with Hutton, of course, at right back. If these guys are going to ever make it at Rangers, they need proper game time at this 17, 18, 19-year-old age, not 10 minutes at the end of a game, you're 3-0 up. It's not going to do anything for you. You need to be challenged. You need to be put in difficult situations. And I'm more than happy if Curtis stuck around the squad and played, but he then has to play. If you've got an option of a guy coming in who's a bit more pedigree, a bit more ability, it's just common sense. You bring him in. And what I really do like about this one with Mikey Moore is that he has options from the Championship. I think it was Coventry, it was at West Brom, a couple more were interested. He could have went that route, a bit safer, closer to home, a bit easier. He's heard the Rangers project, you assume, whether that's talking to Russell Martin or just the fact that it's Rangers, and fancies it. He wants to come up here, he wants to challenge himself, because he's not going to come up as a guaranteed starter either way. We've paid money for Gassama. We're all in love with him after a game and a half. So, but we're all very keen to see what Gassama does. And yet Mikey Moore's thinking, well, I can get game time. I can challenge that. I want to be in those big nights, those big occasions. And I think it's a really good signing. Very low risk. If he comes here, he does flop, he does, shy away, then he goes back into the season. I don't think it's one that's going to cost us a great deal in terms of fees or wages, especially a guy that age. So it could be really special. And you mentioned it, if we'd got Cole Palmer a couple of years ago, think of the impact he would have had, and you had people kind of dismissing that at the time. We're doing it a bit more open to these elite level loans that are going to make us a better team. Not just bringing someone up for the sake of it, but a guy that can come up and have an actual impact in the first team should never be scoffed at for me.
100%, yeah. Keen, just before we move on to talking about Panathinaikos and that second leg away in what I imagine is going to be a very, very warm Athens. I just want to talk about a couple of things that came out today. First of all, It's Football Insider, yeah, who are potentially not the most reliable source in the world, but Football Insider have said that Ben Davies, there's been a fee agreed with Birmingham City, and he's going to be signing there very soon. I'm sure welcome news for all Rangers fans that it was another that's going to be off the books and was never going to play at all this season. But is that welcome news from your perspective, Iain?
It's probably the easiest question you've ever asked me in this podcast. Yes, that is delightful news. Is one we just need rid of. It just makes me think of that photo you got at the weekend there of the squad list of 500 names or so. We need to just get these guys going. I'm pretty sure there's going to be quite a lot of the proper situation where we maybe need to pay off here and there. We need to cover wages here and there because we've just offered extraordinary wages over the years. I mean, we can sit here and list off how many guys in that squad need to go, but Ben Davies, wage-wise, is certainly at the top of that list. The fact we're getting a fee for him, I would have taken him just leaving on a free, just taking his wages with him. So if it is, $750,000, if it's $500,000, I'll take that all day. Move him on, and for me, that's what's kind of been holding up some of the incomings, especially at centre back. We're bloated in that area just now. You can't just keep signing players hoping people leave. You do need to kind of kick a few out before you do that. So if this again is another step to that, whether it's Connor Cody, whether it's another centre back, it's going to make us a better team. Saves us that wage that's just sitting in the stand just now. So yeah, hopefully the first of a few. Obviously the McCausland news kicked off yesterday as well. He's likely going to get confirmed away soon. Very different story from McCausland compared to Ben Davies, of course. But again, just another guy who's not going to affect the first team. Move them on and we go again.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Another one today that probably went under the radar for a lot of people, but I'm not sure if many people managed to see Jack Butland's interview on Sky Sports today. I think he said a lot in it. He said a lot about his form last season and it wasn't being good enough. He said that he spent a lot of time working on both the mental and the physical side of the game over the summer to come back in a much better space. Going by the fact that he's doing that interview, Iain, going by his performance last week against Panathinaikos, I think he's going to be our number one this season. There was a lot of question marks over whether he would be or wouldn't be, but it feels like he is going to be. And if he can rediscover that form from when he first arrived, and if he can play similarly to how he played last week against Panathinaikos, then it'll be a welcome refresh for Jack Butland as Rangers number one. But is that something you're happy to see, comfortable with? Where do you land on the radar with that one?
There's probably a lot of recency bias for how good he was last week in my mind, thinking if he plays like that, brilliant. Let's stay all season, stay for 5 years if you want. But for me, you're always kind of waiting for that error now, and that's maybe a bit harsh. He's not been, I was going to say he's not been too error prone, but he really has last season, to be honest. So it's more a case of when that first error happens, because every goalie, Thibaut Courtois, Alisson, all the best goalies still make errors. It's just how you recover from that and put out your mind. My fear is just the fact that if Butland makes another howler somewhere, then what? It's all fine. Come doing interviews after a good performance, and don't get me wrong, I do like Butland as a goalie. He's a really good goalie, and I think for me, if Rangers are playing and it's a 50-50 game, it's a European game, and Butland's busy, that's when he's fine. He's dialed in, makes saves after saves, really strong. It's the games where he's not busy that he then seems to have a clanger and drop the ball and parry it to the oncoming striker. It's those games that give me the fear a bit more than like tomorrow night, for example. I'm pretty confident with Butland tomorrow night. Motherwell at the weekend, less so. And that I shouldn't. If I'm feeling like that, it takes a mistake or two for the defence to feel like that. The team, it's just a chain reaction. So I was kind of hoping we would see a bit more movement, but I go back to the very start. It's not quite a priority position for me just now. I'd much rather see your right winger, your left back, centre back coming in first. And then if end of the window, a good option comes available. Because that's the thing, we've only seen Carl Rushworth of Brighton. It was rumoured. That's gone very quiet. It's not as if there's been a chain of links there. So was it a case of if we get Rushworth, he's number one? If not, it's Jack. Then might be that way just for now, even until we get through Europe. But not a priority, but not exactly perfect. Which hopefully Butland proves me wrong and ideal. But you know what the fans are like. You know what's going to happen after that first mistake, and that's just it's a hard road to go back from.
Yeah, he did play well last week, and it looks like he will be number one tomorrow night between the sticks for Rangers away to Panathinaikos, taking a 2-0 lead there with his Iain. I think that second goal was absolutely vital. Last week I would have really liked a third, but the second goal, I'll take the second goal. Where is your confidence heading into the game tomorrow night?
I'm more confident than I was last week. Like I said at the start, now I've seen the team, now I kind of get it. I don't know why I'm saying that, when the fact I was very nervous at half time last week, but I do just trust Rangers in Europe. That's the kind of interesting thing here is how Russell Martin sets up, how he plays, because that was the chat, wasn't it? He doesn't know how to not play this way. He's only got a plan A. It would be a bit risky, we'll say, to start that way tomorrow and play it from the back and invite them onto you. I'd much rather just see it out from the start, just play very calm. The team is very interesting for me in terms of the lineups. It's hard to predict because on the one hand, you could absolutely just go with the same team that started last week. On the flip side, you've got another week into Dessers, you've got Gassama firing. There's decent options now, but if it was me, I would still start with as close to the team last week as possible, really. And then if you have to change it, have the options on the bench, like be able to bring on Dessers. We know Iggerman's not travelled, so that's a massive blow.
It's interesting that you're saying that you would start with the same or as close to the same team that started last week. Because actually, the first half was where all the mistakes were made. The first half was where we probably could and should have been 3-0 down at half time last week. But for some good Jack Butland goalkeeping and some good luck as well with them hitting the post. How does that fit with how you're thinking then, I guess, with that?
It sounds daft, I know, but my thinking is more lying in we start with that team, get through half time. If you're 0-0, just you're chill, you're fine. I would much rather, if we do get in a spot of bother, then we've got a Dessers, a Gassama, these guys to bring off the bench and proper attacking threat in Gassama anyway. Whereas if you do go a couple of goals down and you turn to the bench and you're bringing on Dowell, Danilo, I'm not going to have the same level of confidence. Don't get me wrong, I don't expect us to concede 2 goals. Just I have faith in Rangers, like I said there. I think we can at least score one and do that strong Rangers classic European performance. But I'd rather have the firepower on the bench to fix a problem than get into bother. And then I don't think Gassama's got 90 minutes in him. He's not got 90 minutes and extra time in him, kind of thing. Dessers will be the exact same. These guys are still a little bit behind. So I'd be playing it safe. And again, it's a tough call to make, but that's where I'd be going for it.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly touch through some of the key points from Russell Martin's press conference that happened about around an hour ago. They confirmed that Hamza Iggerman and Telo Asgard are both missing. He says they are the only ones who didn't make it. Speaking about the heat, he said the team had an extremely hot week at St George's, which will help us, but we have to make sure that we manage the game. Can't go running around like headless chickens in that heat, or else they're going to really suffer in that last 20-30 minutes. He spoke again about it being early days, but Gassama is a player that really excites him and really excites the coaching staff. And he also said that, talking about the approach for this game, he said nothing changes, which I think will be a common theme as we go through the season with Russell Martin. No matter who we're playing, I'm not entirely sure there'll be very much that changes. Iain, the big one there is obviously Hamza Iggerman missing until Asgard continuing to be missing. What are your thoughts on that? Is it a bit of a disappointment?
The Asgard one maybe less so. Don't get me wrong, I'm really excited to see him, and we're hearing great things of in training and what he's been doing. So I'm excited to see him finally. But we're very strong in the centre of the park. You look at even Lyle Cameron coming on the other day and impressing. We're fine there. We've got guys like Barron who have been good in Europe, away from home at least. So there's options there. The Iggerman one is a worry for me, and he's not done a lot this season. Obviously, he's still getting up to speed, but it's that bit of class and quality that you can bring off the bench if things are going a bit ropey, whereas it leaves us pretty light up there. I mean, if Dessers or Danilo isn't firing, your next best option up front is Josh Gentles, who's 17. That's a hell of a lot of pressure to bring on a guy like that in that kind of scenario if things are going wrong. So it's worrying. It's quite annoying. Obviously, we don't know the extent of that injury. Or when I first heard it, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was just I'm not going to play against Middlesbrough, so he's definitely fine for this game. So the fact I saw him not travel this morning is a sore one, but you just got to hope that Danilo can shine through. Maybe it can be. Maybe this can be Danilo arriving kind of thing, because he's had a good pre-season, but last week he was invisible for me. Obviously we've touched on Dessers and his faults so far, so I don't think we're in a great position up front. Like pre-kickoff, you never know what happens in the game, so Igman would have been a real key option at the very least for me. So it just kind of points to the fact that we need to get things settled up front for me in terms of this whole squad. Obviously transfer-wise is the big one, but yeah, it's a worry to say the least.
Yeah, I think that is very fair. Who are going to be the key players for Rangers tomorrow night, Iain? Who do you think who are the ones that we really need to be on top of the game?
For me, it's kind of key that Suter, Jigger and Butland have good games. And that sounds so obvious, it's your kind of little triangle at the back there, but if we don't concede, especially early on, if we go like the first 30, 40 minutes without conceding, I know they're not playing at the home stadium, but you'll get the fans kind of a bit irked. They'll be pushing them on, and the more they push on, that's when we can obviously break. And if we get the first goal tomorrow night, Kieran said that obviously the other night, if we get the first goal, then it's as good as over kind of thing for me, the way the heads would drop and stuff. So strong defence, get a clean sheet, get a 0-0, get a Walter Smith-esque 0-0 away from home in Europe, and we're laughing.
Just over the half-hour mark, so I'll just you've already given us your lineup prediction has been pretty much the same starting lineup as last week. If anyone has a different starting lineup they think in the comments, then let us know. I think Joe Rothwell will be huge tomorrow night. To be honest, again going by how he played last week, and he was able to help control that midfield. But
Ian, first ever European game, wasn't it? There's a few of them like that actually. It's quite an interesting little aspect to all this, but hopefully
I assume the qualifier doesn't really feel too different, but I imagine when you get to the actual group stages themselves, that'll be when it does really step up the level. Just finishes off, Iain, what's your score prediction for tomorrow?
I'm going 1-0 Rangers. I think we score first and just a kind of nothing game after that, and I'll be delighted with it.
Yeah, I'm going a bit nervier than that. I think we score first as well, probably in the first 10 minutes, to be honest. But I reckon Panathinaikos will come back and it'll be a 2-1 to Panathinaikos, which is it's nervy last 10 minutes, that one, but we'll still see us through. But as it normally is during these midweek shows, it's half an hour, short and snappy, and just talking about the latest Rangers news. Thank you very much to Iain for joining us. Thank you very much to everyone for listening. If you enjoyed the content, please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the tr.ee YouTube channel or wherever you're listening to us on audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. It helps us massively and means you don't miss out on any content. We'll be back tomorrow night immediately after the final whistle. It'll be Kieran and Iain, yourself.
I don't know what I signed up for there. We have 2-1 game if it goes your way. Jesus, that'll be sweaty.
I late substitute, but make sure to join Iain and Kieran tomorrow night live on YouTube straight after the game. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Till next time.